All right, let's dive into a powerful mental trap that messes with all of us every single day in big ways and small ones. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. And honestly, learning how to spot it is like gaining a decision-making superpower.
Okay, let me ask you this. You're sitting in a movie theater. An hour in, the movie is just awful. The plot makes no sense, you don't care about the characters, and you're kind of just wishing you were home. But just stay. Why? Because you think, well, I paid for the ticket. You've been there, right?
Yeah, that feeling. That little voice in your head that says you're in too deep to quit now, that you've got to see it through. It feels like you've passed some kind of point of no return. Well, that powerful psychological pull actually has a name.
And there it is, you have just run smack into the sunk cost fallacy. It's an incredibly common, totally human, and completely irrational glitch in our thinking that convinces us to keep investing in a losing game.
So, we've given it this fancy name, but what does it actually mean? What is a sunk cost? Let's get a really clear definition so we can understand what's happening inside our own heads when we fall for this. So here's the core of it. Any investment you've already made, whether it's money, time, or effort, is sunk. It's gone. You can't get it back no matter what you do next. The fallacy, the trap, is when you let that unrecoverable cost influence your future decisions. It's how we end up throwing good money after bad.
And trust me, this isn't just about $10 movie tickets. This thing can scale up, way up. We're talking about billions of dollars, decades of work, and two nations' pride on the line. Let's talk about the Concorde, where the sunk cost fallacy literally took flight.
This, of course, was the Concorde, a supersonic jet that was an absolute marvel of engineering. It was a joint project between the British and French governments, and it was supposed to be the glorious future of air travel. Instead, it became one of history's greatest cautionary tales about the sunk cost fallacy.
Just look at this timeline. It all starts in 1962 with huge ambition. But by 1973, a little over a decade later, the budget has ballooned to 10 times the original estimate. Huge red flag, right? Then, just a few years later, it's clear it's a commercial failure. Airlines are actually canceling their orders. Any rational person would look at the numbers and pull the plug. But they didn't. They kept pouring money into it for another 27 years. So the question is, why?
Well, this is why. When you adjust for inflation, the Concorde project lost over $10 billion. They had simply invested too much. Too much money, too much effort, and way too much national pride. At a certain point, the pain of walking away and admitting failure felt worse than continuing to burn cash on a project they knew was doomed.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It gets right to the human core of the problem. The decision stopped being about good business or sound economics. It became about ego. It was about avoiding the public embarrassment of a massive mistake. So what makes this trap so ridiculously powerful? Why do our brains get stuck on this, whether we're talking about a movie ticket or a supersonic jet? Well, the answer is deep in our own psychology. We are basically hardwired to fall for this.
It's really like a perfect storm of mental biases. First, you've got loss aversion. Psychologically, the pain of a loss feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of an equal gain. Then you have commitment bias. We have this deep need to appear consistent with our past choices. And of course, there's ego protection. Admitting you were wrong just plain hurts. Top it all off with that little voice from childhood telling you, waste not, want not, and you have a recipe for making some really irrational decisions.
And this really boils it all down. You've got two different mindsets. A rational choice is always forward-looking. It asks, given where I am right now, what's the smartest move? Sunk cost thinking, though, is trapped in the past. It's obsessed with the question, how can I justify everything I've already put into this? One moves you forward, the other keeps you stuck right where you are.
But here is the really good news. We are not doomed to keep making these mistakes. Just by understanding what this fallacy is, by being able to name it, you start to gain power over it. We can actually learn how to escape the trap and when to cut our losses.
So here's your toolkit, your 4-step escape plan. First, just acknowledge it. Say out loud, that time and money is a sunk cost. It is gone. Second, and this one is a game changer, reframe the whole thing by asking yourself this magic question. Knowing what I know now, if I were starting from scratch today, would I still make this choice? Third, deliberately focus only on the future potential of your options. The past is irrelevant to the decision. And finally, if you're still stuck, get an outside opinion from someone who isn't emotionally invested. They can see things with a clarity you just don't have.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Whether it's a project at work that's going nowhere, a business that isn't taking off, or even just a book you're really not enjoying? What sunk cost in your life is holding you back? Now that you know how to spot the trap, is it finally time to walk away?